Yes, guys, welcome to the Game Week 13 deadline live stream. My name is FPL Nacho, and I cannot wait to get through some of your questions that you have leading up until this deadline. Now, a quick reminder that I'm doing this for the next 45 minutes up until 10 a.m. I'm not going up until the exact deadline, so I do apologize, but of course, there are so many unbelievable content creators out there. They should be able to help you between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. But my job here is to answer any questions you might have where you might not be getting them on other people's accounts. So as always, if you're looking forward to today's live stream, please do drop a like. It'd be awesome to see if it's providing some value. And the big thing, let me know if you have any questions. Get them in the comments section. This is going to be a bit of exclusive. I will be revealing my Game Week 13 team. I don't really make early transfers, but I made one last night. Got it in the bank because there were some significant price changes happening. The likes of Cash were dropping in price. People like Saliba were potentially rising in price. So I thought to myself, let's get that transfer done to avoid any sort of any sort of issue. So pulled the trigger, got it done, and I will reveal my team in a minute as always. But please do get your questions in the comments section. This is what it's all about. I want to make sure I can help as many people as possible over the next 45 minutes. So see already Immortal Technique in the chat. Hope you're doing well. Cheekster, hope you're doing well as well, mate. Nico saying sell Gavardia. Now, you're always going to be in a bit of a pet roulette situation with Gavardia, with all of these Man City defenders. The fixtures are okay. Oh, I think my audio, hang on a second. Let me see if I'm sorted. Geez, so let me know if it's any better right now. I'm not a tech whiz, so if it is any problems, I might have to check it out and come back onto it. I'll keep an eye. I'll keep an eye on the audio. Okay, so sell Gavardia. You're in a bit of a sticky situation with the Man City defenders where you don't know who's going to start week in, week out. My advice would be this. You're either in it for the long run with Gavardia out, or you just get it done, get him sold. Personally, I wouldn't want to be in a situation where I have Gavardia out, so I probably would look to sell him, but it's not a desperate transfer this weekend, I don't think. Yes, it's a tricky fixture, but unless your team is in a really bad spot and you want to sell Gavardia, I'd probably just keep him and hope for the best this weekend. Matt's saying, what should I do with Cash with 0 in the bank? Well, firstly, Matt, I'll say to you is, Cash isn't a desperate sell. A lot of people are selling him because they have 2 free transfers and no other problems in their team. And the situation with Cash is, yes, he has a tricky away game against Spurs, but then he has Bournemouth in game week 14, which is a decent fixture. Then he has 2 tricky fixtures. But firstly, I would say to you, do you need to sell him? If you have 1 free transfer available, I'd rather just keep him this weekend because he still offers attacking potential, which is the big upside with someone like a Matty Cash. If you have no money in the bank and you're looking to go for somebody like him, I think a Wolves defender is okay because he covers you off for game week 18 and it's not a bad pick and it's cheap. Otherwise, Crystal Palace are a decent defence, but the fixtures are going to be turning after 3 game weeks. So I personally don't think Matty Cash is a desperate sell in my eyes. The reason why, in spoiler alert, I sold him is because I had 2 free transfers, no other real issues in my team, and I knew long term I wanted another player, even though it isn't the best fixture this weekend. More strategically saying, went early on Bowen to Mbeumo, now very nervous he might play. Look, I think the situation with Bowen is this. Yes, Bowen could start this weekend, but if you were in a spot where you definitely want Mbeumo for game week 14, you've got a player now, a week earlier is worth noting, but at home against Arsenal, it's the toughest fixture, but I don't think Brentford are one of those teams that can't score against the big teams. We've seen them historically do well against the big teams. And also, you're going to build value in Mbeumo. I can guarantee you the fact that you've bought him now, he will be 0.2 million more expensive come the game week 14 deadline. So you look at it that way, it's actually a decent move. You now just got to hope that Bowen doesn't go off this weekend. Jay saying, if money isn't an issue, who is better, Sterling or Palmer? Okay, so if money isn't an issue, and they were both, the same price, looking at both of them, I probably would still lean towards Cole Palmer. The main reason being he's on penalties, and that is such a big factor. Now, open play XG, Sterling is leading the way. And it's also worth noting, we don't actually know what's going to happen once Nkunku is fit. He isn't going to be available for the Newcastle game. The expectation is he'll be in the squad for the Brighton game. But do we see him coming straight back in? No, I think he'll probably get 15 minutes in the end of the game. And it might happen again in game week 15 with a start in game week 16. So I think I literally don't know whether Sterling or Cole Palmer is undroppable in Pochettino's eyes. So I think the fact that Cole Palmer is the penalty taker would just mean I'd pick him if they were the same price. But Sterling is looking really, really good in this team right now. Paulus is saying, brought in Matoma last week. Eze for Matoma this week or Palmer? Okay, so yeah, you're in a tricky spot right now. I like Palmer at 5.2 million if those funds are going to enable you to make other moves later down the line. But if you're in a situation where you need to sell Matoma, I really can't say to you buy Palmer when you've got someone like Eze who has Luton away this weekend. So I'm probably going to say Eze. I think Palmer is one of those that value-wise is probably better long-term. But with Eze's fixtures coming up, Luton away to kick it off, I feel like that's the route you should go for, knowing you can downgrade to Cole Palmer later down the line if you want to. Jonah, I hope you're doing well. Nacho, doing very well. I hope you are too yourself. Andrew, I can hear you fine, dude. Good stuff. Obviously, I think it was just early on the audio was kicking out a little bit. I don't own Haaland. Who can I captain? Salah or Son? Okay, so this is one of the biggest game weeks of captaincy because points right now are going to be difficult to come by. It is worth noting. It's a tough game week. It's amazing for football terms. We've got the top two going off against one another. We got Spurs versus Aston Villa. Amazing fixtures. But when we sit back and think that we are FPL nerds, it's not the best thing actually for fixtures when they're like this. So in terms of captaincy, I think we look at Son against this Aston Villa high line. I know a lot of people are talking about the high line and Son's going to score a bag full of goals, but Unai Emery plays the high line because it's a good tactical move. So they keep most teams offside. You know what I'm trying to say? They basically get the teams to be offside the most in games. So it's not a case of just Spurs are just going to kick a ball over the top and they're going to score every time they go through. No, it isn't the case at all. So Aston Villa have measures in place to kind of stop teams just kicking the ball over the top for a quick player. Otherwise, you know, they'll be conceding every week against quick players. So I think Son is a good pick, but I don't think he's going to score a hat full of goals. And I am worried about the absence of Romero and Van der Ven. Really important how they build up from the back. And also Maddison, that creative role is a big, big issue for Spurs. I don't know how they're going to replace that. Maybe with Lo Celso. Bentancur's coming back in, but lack of match fitness. Be interested to see how he does there. So I personally would lean towards Salah. I currently have the top three as Son number 3, Salah number 2, and Erling Haaland number 1. That's how I'd rank them right now. Be interested to know as well in the chat, guys. I'll put a poll up quickly to ask who is going to be your captain. Is your game week 13 captain? Be super interested to know who you are going for. So I'm just putting this out. I do apologise if it is silent. I'm going to put another option. If you could just let me know in the chat if you're going for somebody other than the 3 that I've put in. Be really interested to know who you're tempted by. Okay, Alexander's saying, I have Shah, Kabore, Cash and Bowen all injured doubtful and only 1 free transfer. Would you recommend getting out 1.3 million in the bank? Okay, so I think Fabian Shah is absolutely fine. It looks like he's past fit, so don't worry about Fabian Shah. Cash has also been in training, so I wouldn't be worried about Matty Cash right now. Kabore, a bit more of an issue. I believe he suffered from concussion. I'll be surprised if he does play. And then Jared Bowen, who we know is touch and go for this weekend, but realistically, Shah and Cash are fine, so you can start them if you don't want to make a transfer. And Bowen and Kabore are the big question marks. Again, if I own Bowen, and I am one of those that own him, I'm starting him and hoping him for the best. But I do have a good first sub in Livramento who can come on at home against Chelsea. If you're in a spot where your team is decimated, then selling Bowen is a consideration. You could go to Mbeumo this week or you could go to Eze. Those are my 2 top picks to replace them. But I think you're not as bad as you think. I think Shah and Cash both play, so you can start them if you want to. Matt is saying, thanks a lot. I have 2 free transfers of Cash and Bowen, so pretty unsure what to do, and 0 in the bank. Okay, Matt, yeah, so it depends what the rest of your team's looking like. It's difficult to give you an answer right now just because I don't know what the rest of your squad is looking like. But I think Cash will play, so he's not a desperate transfer out. And obviously with 0 in the bank, you can't get to the likes of Saliba. I think Saliba's a boring pick, but it is what it is. In terms of Bowen, it comes down to what kind of manager you are. I'm just going to roll the dice and hope he plays. But if you're a manager that can't really hack with the risk of minutes, selling him to somebody like Mbeumo just makes sense for the long term. Sammy's saying, which 2 should I bench? I have Saliba. Okay, well, I'd start Saliba just because he's playing in the best defence in the league based on underlying numbers. So straight away, I would start Saliba. Cash, Shimikas. I wouldn't start Shimikas. Lascelles and Taylor. Okay, so if I had to bench 2, I definitely would bench Shimikas because if he gets attacker returns, so be it. I think they will concede in that game. And then it comes down to, do you want the attacking potential of Cash? Do you want to go for Lascelles at home against Chelsea or Taylor? I can't really predict a Burnley clean sheet. I've seen nothing from them to suggest. So I probably would bench Taylor and Shimikas and start the other three personally. Should I start Archer or Nketiah? I would go for Archer personally. I don't see Nketiah getting guaranteed minutes, whereas I think Archer has to play with the injury to Ryan Brewster. And also I believe McBurney's still not available. Don't quote me on that one though. FPL Diamond, hope you're doing well. Congrats on the award, Sammy. Thank you so much. Anton, for those that don't know, I obviously have to blag it for the first week that we're back from it. Did win the Best in Fantasy Football Video Silver Award. Thank you so much to those that did vote. Massive surprise as always. So if you are not subscribed to the channel, please do consider subscribing to the channel. I'm in a situation right now where kind of the first half of the season, as you guys know, I kind of restarted the channel. First half of the season was just all about testing, trial and testing different things. And then we're going to refine the channel from 2024 onwards. So you're going to see basically updated thumbnails. We're going to be seeing a lot of things. The first half was literally just about getting content out there. Then we're going to really start to get the nitty gritty details in for the second half. So we've got a lot of things planned, updated thumbnails, because you can tell right now they're an absolute car crash. But this was just an opportunity just to talk to you guys and get content out in the world. And then we'll see a natural progression from the channel from basically January onwards, where it's going to be a bit more investment in the channel. So please do, if you're not already, do subscribe, because it's an exciting time to be a subscriber to the channel, as there's going to be a lot of things coming forward. As I said, the first 6 months are always just carnage, trying to basically get content out. Deadlines are so fast, you can't really make improvements to the channel over that time. Have 2 free transfers. Bowen to Eze, Anton is saying. Yes, I think Bowen to Eze is absolutely fine. But again, it's what your team looks like. If you have 2 free transfers, no other problems, and you're worried about Bowen's minutes, then yes, I don't mind the move. But you do just need to understand that David Moyes has said that Bowen is touch and go. He's hoping to be available. So don't be surprised if you sell him and he starts. That's all I can really say on Bowen right now, because we have no real concrete news about whether he is going to be starting. Can you do a Game Week 14 wildcard team? Toma, I absolutely will do so in next week's schedule, if that's okay. Don't really know if I have time right now, but I will make sure I do a video, which is a Game Week 14 wildcard video, just for you, mate. Andrew, I'm a City fan, but I'm captain in Salah. We will win, but I can't see us keeping a clean sheet against Liverpool. And Andrew, I absolutely agree. I actually think there's going to be goals in this game. I think really, though, with Liverpool, quote me if I'm wrong, obviously, for those that are Liverpool fans, I think right now the centre mid is obviously decent going forward. Defensively, though, I just don't see McAllister as that defensive midfielder who's going to be able to lock down some of the creativity around Erling Haaland, like Alvarez, like Foden, for example. So I think that Liverpool have no other option than to go out and attack. And I think Mo Salah against Man City historically has just been an amazing matchup. So I really do fancy Mo Salah to do well. I would be surprised if Erling Haaland pins himself against Van Dijk, probably one of the best centre-backs in the world right now. I'd expect him to peel off into the other centre-back. Probably going to be Konate if he is ruled fit. But anyway, I personally think Haaland is the number one. But I think Salah could go off in this game, because he always does do well against Man City. And defensively, down that right flank, I don't think they're absolutely locked in right now. It is worth noting. Is Cash playing? All we know, and I've said this before, is he's trained, he's available for selection. Now it's a case of whether Unai Emery starts him, and that's always the case with players. You never really know if they're definitely going to start, but the best we know is that he's available for selection, and then we make our decision from that. Before we get into any more questions, please do put them in, guys, obviously I'll be answering them throughout. I'm going to show you my team, give you a bit of an exclusive, made my transfer, this is how the team is looking. So, here we go. Here is how the team is looking for Game Week 13. I made my transfer last night. For those that obviously follow my team, probably want to stay up to date with all the transfers that I make, I always try and do a team reveal before the deadline, so you guys can obviously follow it if you want to. I know some people obviously follow people's teams. If you wanted to stay up to date with all of my actual transfers midweek, because sometimes I make early moves and I don't update you guys on YouTube, TikTok, wherever, then I do let my Patreons know. So if you are interested in that, please do check out the link in the bio. I think it's down there. But that's where I do all my updates. If I make any midweek transfers, that's the only place you would find out if you wanted to follow my team. With that said, here is how my team is looking. So for those that don't know, I pulled the trigger on Matty Cash to Saliba. Now, Cash went down in price, but I believe Saliba didn't rise in price. So I had 0.4 million in the bank. So I think that actually would have priced me out if Cash went down. So I'm glad I made the move. Now, the reasoning behind my decision to do Cash to Saliba, I could easily have just started Livramento this weekend. I think because I'm a Chelsea fan, I might be being a little bit biased, but I personally think Chelsea have the tools available to hurt Newcastle. I've seen us play against the high press of Arsenal and Man City, and we've done very well against both. We have players available, like our defenders, and now like our centre mids, who are able to actually receive the ball in these difficult situations and play out from the back. And with Newcastle's high press at St James's Park, don't get me wrong, they're going to put Chelsea under the cosh, but I think Chelsea have the tools available to actually beat the press. And once you get past that press, then you are at that back line of, Trippier, Lascelles, Shah, and Livramento. I don't mind that. I don't mind that for a Chelsea perspective. So I'm not necessarily saying Chelsea are going to win against Newcastle, but I think they are going to cause Newcastle problems. Therefore, and again, I am taking a bit of a risk here, I'm benching Livramento and I'm going to start Cole Palmer. Just because he's on penalties, I can't really afford to bench Cole Palmer in this game week. So that's how the team is going to look. It's worth noting, if we get some Bowen news and we say he hasn't travelled with the team, he's ruled out, I probably will use my other free transfer and sell him for Mbeumo, but it doesn't really make sense because I've got double Arsenal defence. It is worth noting, but it is what it is. So I'm happy with this team. Livramento on the bench, as I mentioned. If Newcastle keep a clean sheet, I understand the problem there because I think a lot of managers are going to have ownership in the Newcastle defence. It is what it is with those situations. I'm doubling down on the Arsenal defence. Captaincy on Haaland. Now, I just want to give you a quick idea on why I made the Saliba move. I was very tempted by Reece James, it is worth noting, but I looked at the fixtures and I just thought to myself, is he definitely going to play over that period? And I just don't know whether he's going to play every single game. So this is how my team looks for game week 13. If we come into game week 14, I'll then have double Arsenal at home against Wolves. Gary O'Neill's done an amazing job, but I just think at the Emirates, I fancy Arsenal for a clean sheet there, although their record hasn't been amazing. So I would end up rolling out this team, and this team would have 2 free transfers. And then I make a decision what I want to do. Could potentially look to sell Son. Yes, he has Man City. Then he has West Ham, Newcastle, and then a really good run of fixtures. But if we see a really poor Spurs performance today, maybe that will give me the confidence to sell Son to bring in Mbeumo into my team. We'll see what happens there. But the team would look good for game week 14. And I'd have 2 free transfers and feel very, very reluctant to make any move. Then we come into game week 15. I'd have double Arsenal defence away against Luton. That's a really good fixture. I'd have Guy at home against Bournemouth. The midfield looks good again. And up front, we have Man City versus Aston Villa. So maybe this could be the time to potentially look at making a transfer in the attacking areas. But again, we will deal with game week 15 when we get there. But that's a little bit of a thought process on why I brought in Saliba. I think for the next 3 or 4 game weeks, his game time's locked in. I really like the Arsenal fixtures. And for me, it's all about minutes during this Christmas period. I really want to go for Reece James, and it's worth noting, I definitely could go for Reece James later down the line, but maybe the investment for Reece James comes around game week 16 or 17 when there are less games in the week. That's a consideration for the team. So let's get back into the questions. Do I take a hit to bring in Saka for Bowen and bench Cash this week? Personally, I'd probably roll the dice on Bowen starting and just know that I've got Cash to come in if I need it. That's probably the way I would look at it. As a captain, I can't knock anybody going for a captaincy against Luton, so I'm absolutely fine if you want to go for an SA differential. I think he's only 5% owned in the game, so if you own him on its own, that's an amazing differential, and that will really help your overall rank. If you captain him and he goes off, that is going to be a massive green arrow. So I like the move. I'm not that brave, but I do like the move. Should I start Diaby or Palmer? Oof. Diaby has been coming off early, it is worth noting. Looking at his minutes, let me just get him up. Diaby's minutes, 61, then a couple of 90s, which is great news, and then early substitutions. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. We don't really know Diaby's minutes long term. I think Cole Palmer will probably play the majority of the game just because we know Nkunku isn't actually available for this game. So, and Cole Palmer's been fantastic. So it's a really tricky one, mate. I fancy both to I don't fancy either to have a high ceiling, it is worth noting. I probably would just go for Diaby because of the Spurs injuries, but I really don't like the thought of you benching Palmer. Tsimikas will start. Don't know on that one, mate, but it is worth noting they are the lunchtime kickoff. The deadline's at 11 a.m. We may get some early Man City Liverpool team news before the deadline. I'm going to be cutting this off at 10 a.m., but there are some brilliant content creators out there who probably will give you news if there is going to be any team leaks. So keep an eye on those closer to the deadline. Start cash or your doggy. So hard to pick because I think your doggy at home, obviously I prefer the home team, but then cash has probably higher attacking potential. Probably would just go for cash. Who should be my first sub? Taylor, Tsimikas, or Mabama? I'm probably going to say Taylor in that situation. Saka captain, not against it. I don't mind Saka captaincy at all, and we would expect him to be on penalties. How would I get Eze in for this week and Mbeumo next week? My midfield is Saka, Son, Salah, Bowen, Diaby. What should I do? Well, it all comes down to whether you want to keep Bowen or not. Obviously, if you're worried about his minutes, an easy route for you to do would be Bowen to Eze this week, and then you would sell Diaby for Mbeumo next week. That is a really obvious move to do. Otherwise, you don't bring in Eze this week, and then on my recommendation would you wouldn't buy him at all. If you're going to buy Eze, you have to buy him this week away against Luton. Otherwise, you're really missing on the money fixture. So that's the way I'll do it. I would do Bowen to Eze this week, Diaby to Mbeumo the following week. But obviously, it is how you view the minutes of Bowen this weekend. Areola or Leno, that is a really difficult one. We need to remind ourselves with the fixtures. I'll put them up on the screen. We have Fulham at home against Wolves. Wolves have been good this year, but the home fixture for Fulham feels good as well. Do I fancy Areola away against Burnley? I don't fancy Areola against any fixture. I'd probably just lean for Leno. And the thing about Leno, save points are great, and he's also brilliant on the bonus. So if they are going to keep a clean sheet, I think he will double digit. Do I bench Bowen, Alvarez, or Palmer? Joe, you're in a really tough spot. I think if you're going to keep Bowen, you have to start him, because then my question is, why aren't you selling him if you're benching him? So I would start Bowen. And then it's a toss-up between Alvarez or Palmer. Because Alvarez is at home against his Liverpool defence, I probably would just favour Alvarez and I'd bench Palmer. But that's because I rate the Newcastle defence. Haaland or Salah captain, both good options. I'm just currently leaning towards Haaland myself, but I can't knock anybody going for Mo Salah. Obviously, remember, an additional point for a goal as a midfielder is always a big factor that we need to consider. What about Højlund, mate? Until he actually gets some Premier League goals, I cannot consider Højlund as an option at all. And Man United in general, I've been seeing some actual progression maps on them. I will try and get them up. And it's just all over the place. When you look at these things, you can see what a team is doing. You can see how they're building up phases. And it is just woeful for the Man United situation right now. And I just can't really be backing them as we speak. Thoughts on Martinelli. If you have him, you keep him. I wouldn't be looking to buy him right now. It's worth noting. Jay saying, should I buy Saliba or White? It's a long-term pick, so I'm not too worried about the White injury. If I had a choice between two and money was no object, Ben White would be my pick, 100%. He's great on the bonus and he offers attacking potential. I think we're slowly starting to see Arsenal go back to what they know and love, with White making those overlapping runs for Bukayo Saka. That's what made them so good last year, so I don't know why Arteta moved away from that. So I probably would go for White if money was no object. I need to bench two. Cash, Udogi, Saliba, Shah, Tsimikas. Please suggest. I think I've covered this one off already, but I probably would bench Tsimikas, definitely. And then it's a case of Udogi versus Cash. I probably would just bench Udogi and hope that Cash gets some attacking returns. I'm keeping Gordon and I've ruled out getting Eze. Good move. I don't mind it. Obviously, Gordon versus Eze this week, I'm going to naturally favour Eze. But Gordon's an absolutely perfectly fine hold. We know his minutes are guaranteed in that Newcastle team with the injuries that they've had recently. So, yes, I don't mind that at all. Obviously, I think Eze is a great pick this weekend, though. And again, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, please do consider dropping a like. I see we're at 30 likes. If we can hit 50, that would be absolutely amazing. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do consider doing so. For those that don't know, I'm currently ranked, you can see it on here, 541,000th in the world. So yeah, I'm hoping for a good season this year. Even though I have used my wild card, I am hoping to break into the top 100k by the new year, but that is a big ask. I know there is a lot of managers who are trying to do the same. Start Ward-Prowse or Archer. I think if you have Ward-Prowse, you just got to keep starting him because he's one of those players that can just get random double-digit hauls. He's so amazing on the baseline that all he has to get is an assist and he'll pick up bonus points. So I'm going to lean towards Ward-Prowse there. Could you give me a defensive replacement for Tomiyasu? Now, I do apologise. I don't actually know the price point of Tomiyasu. So he's 4.5 million. So obviously, money is a little bit tight for you in this situation. So in terms of defenders at 4.5, let's just give us an idea of who's available for you because you can't even get the 4.6s. And this is where it becomes really difficult sometimes in FPL. So you couldn't even get a Pinnock, who I think could be a good option for your teams. So I mean, looking at the options available, they are not amazing. I mean, Ream is always okay for Fulham, but it's kind of one of those where it's good, bad, but few good home games. Burnley you've got in there. I think Tim Ream's a consideration, but I mean, it's very boring. It's not the most exciting transfer for your teams. The only reason I'm going on here, guys, I would probably go for Castagna over Ream, unless his game time is a little bit at risk. Otherwise, I think you go cheap. You go for a Braithwaite, for example, who is 4 million. The fixtures are equally mixed. You could play him in this fixture. You could play him with the Burnley game. It depends if you need this guy to be your starter week in, week out, or whether he's a rotation for your squads. Who is the most nailed and best Chelsea defender? Okay, this is incredibly tough because I think Reece James is the best Chelsea pick by far. And I'd almost go as far as saying that he is worth the risk of rotating sometimes because of what he offers from an upside perspective. But if you're looking for guaranteed game time, I mean, Thiago Silva will start as long as he is fit. But we know that Chelsea will get to a stage where it's 3 games in 1 week and he definitely won't start all 3. Disasi's been playing well, but we also need to see the integration of Levi Colwill back into the team. And I don't know whether right now Pochettino will go for Levi Colwill at left back or at left-sided centre-back. Today will be a good inclination because he has all of his defenders available. He's got Cucurella at left back competing with Colwill. He's got Badiashile back fit, Disasi and Thiago Silva, and Reece James at right back. So I think Reece James is locked down right back. The only rotation worry there is because he's come back from a long-term injury and we know he could come in and out of the team. But he is the best pick. Otherwise, I wouldn't be investing in any other Chelsea defender right now until we see the Newcastle game and maybe game week 14 as well. That should start to give us a bit of an idea on who Pochettino values as his starting centre-backs. But right now it has been Thiago Silva and Disasi. They've done okay, and I don't see them breaking up that defence right now. Just trying to cover off where I have missed, guys, so I do apologise. Take out Cash or Gordon? Well, I think Gordon's game time is pretty locked in for the foreseeable future, so I'd probably say sell Matty Cash of all of them. Will Bowen play? That is the $1 million question. I don't have an answer for that one. I do apologise. But we might get some early team news before the deadline because West Ham need to travel to Burnley. We might get that classic picture where it says Bowen hasn't left the team bus. Then that might mean that Jared Bowen isn't going to be starting. I'm checking right now on Twitter to see if there is anything out there. But I don't think there is anything right now. So it is what it is. I can't see anything. But it is still very early. Cash to Guy, I don't mind it, but I would say to you that you're getting to the end of the good Palace fixture. So you can see here, you're going to get Guy for the Luton game, which is good, the West Ham game and the Bournemouth game. I really like those fixtures, but then Liverpool, City, Brighton, Chelsea, Brentford, Arsenal. Basically, great for the next 3, but beyond that, might be looking to either just sell him or rotate him in and out of the team. Lysander, hope you're doing well. What's up, Nacho? Hope you're well. Good luck for the game week. Need some help. Firstly, start Ferguson or -4 for Solanke captain. And if not that, then Bruno or Kudos captain. Okay, so Kudos, I don't know the status on him right now. There's a few rumours that he might actually be carrying a slight knock. Don't quote me on that, though. Would I do Ferguson to Solanke? Now, I do apologise. I don't know the recent injury status regarding Ferguson. I know FPL is a little bit ropey in terms of availability, but I probably would start. I do apologise if I haven't heard anything on Ferguson, but he's not flagged in the game, and I don't think there's been any news on him. Let me know in the chat, guys, if there is anything regarding Ferguson. I wouldn't do a -4 from Ferguson to Solanke. I'll just start him unless, as I said, I have missed some injury news regarding Ferguson. And then, would I do Bruno Kudos captain? I don't like either of those. So you have to let me know in the chat, who else do you own? Sam Johnson, absolutely fine. What do I do with Nketiah? I probably would sell him. Gabriel Jesus is now available, so Nketiah's game time is really hard to predict. I think if you can do Nketiah as a Solanke, that is a great move. Who would be a better option to replace Højlund? Who would be a better option to replace Højlund when I don't have enough money to make moves for Watkins? Any better pick? I think Dominic Solanke is a fantastic pick for your team, and it'll be slightly cheaper. So please look at Solanke and see if he does work for your team. The reason why people are looking at Solanke, just to give you a bit of an idea. So obviously he had the 13-point haul. That is naturally why a lot of people are considering him. But Sheffield United away this week, brilliant fixture. Villa at home, not the worst fixture. Then Palace, tricky, but okay. Then Man United, again, they could do damage against United. But the big thing, they then have Luton at home in 17, and in the blank game week 18, they have Nottingham Forest away. So remember, City and Brentford both blank in game week 18. So if you're not going to free hit in game week 18, you want to make sure your team is full of players that actually are featuring in game week 18. And Solanke's fixture away against Nottingham Forest is one of the better games. So Solanke long term is a really nice player to own, who covers off great fixtures and also the blank game week 18. Should I transfer cash for Saliba? So I have done it personally, but again, I had 2 free transfers available for my team, and I knew Saliba over the next 4 games was a player that I wanted to own. I think Reece James is a good consideration, but I just didn't really know about the injury status and whether his game time would be locked in. So I like the move, but if you have 1 free transfer available, I'd probably just keep cash for this week and then reassess the following week. Who do I replace Shimikas with? I don't think Shimikas is a desperate transfer out. I wouldn't start him this week, but then after that, you need to consider the Liverpool fixtures. They then have Fulham, Sheffield United, Palace. I'll probably just take the risk with Shimikas and hope that he features over that period. If you're going to sell him, I don't think there are many better value picks out there than him. And today should give us a good indication. I think Joe Gomez will play at left back if he is available, but I don't know the status of Joe Gomez. What do I do with Nketiah? Only 1 free sub only and not much of a bench for this week. Nketiah to Solanke will be my pick if you can go there. Watkins is captain. I don't mind it. I do think Aston Villa will score against Spurs, and Watkins' game time is absolutely locked in. So Watkins as a captaincy will be a great differential this week. Not one that I have considered, but I couldn't put people off going for it. And again, for those that have voted in the captaincy poll, 57% to go for Haaland, 18% on Salah, 15% on Son. Archer or Mbeumo to start. If you own Mbeumo, you have to start Mbeumo. That is the way I view it. Do you think João Pedro starts, or do I sell him? 1 free transfer, 0.5 million in the bank. Okay, so you're in a tricky spot with Pedro because you just don't know whether he's going to start week in, week out. I would say he would start because of the injuries that Brighton do have, but again, De Zerbi does like to rotate his teams. So you currently have, what, 5.8 million available? Who is available for you at 5.8? That is the issue right now. Edouard is a consideration for the next 3, actually, if you want to go down that route. I can't lie. Those that are asking about Nketiah replacements, I know it's ridiculous, but if you cannot afford Solanke, honestly, Chris Wood is a consideration. Now, his game time has been horrific because Awoni has been in the team. Rightly so, Awoni is a fantastic forward. But Awoni is now out for a few weeks. Chris Wood, Brighton at home, Everton at home, Fulham away, Wolves away, Spurs at home, Bournemouth at home. Massive fixture, and that's a blank. At 4.9 million, 0.7% owned, Chris Wood is a consideration for your teams. Now, I'm not saying he's a desperate transfer, but he ticks a lot of boxes. His underlying numbers are actually really good when he plays in the Forest team. So I'm going to chuck Wood as an option for your teams. Best cheap defenders to replace your Dogi with, I'd probably just keep him for now. I don't really like any of the defenders in the game, it is worth noting. I think they're all pretty crap as we speak. Is Cash out? He's trained all week and is available for selection. And that's all we know, really. Does that mean he's going to start? That's the $1 million question. But I think the fact that he's available, he's been playing most minutes, I think that probably means he does start. Is Bowen injured? We don't know right now. Hopefully we'll get some news before the deadline. Transfer out Cash or Bowen or roll the transfer. For me, I would just take the risk on Bowen. But obviously, if you're in a situation where you really can't take the risk, then Bowen out to an Mbeumo or an Eze is obviously a fine move. But because you only have one free transfer, I'd probably just roll it and then see how it goes the following week. Lasana say, thanks for the reply, Nacho. Other options I go for are Salah, Trippier or Watkins. Don't own Saka, Son and Haaland. Have Martinelli. Okay, so Bruno you can go for. I'm just not bullish on Man United in general. I think this is a really tricky fixture away against Everton after what's been happening with Everton this weekend. So I'd actually go for, in your situation, Mo Salah. But if you're a bit more bullish on Bruno Fernandes, then please do go with the gut instinct. I don't want you to change from Bruno Fernandes if you've got that real gut feeling. That's what it's all about in FPL. So Boxlight, I would probably sell if you own. I would definitely be buying him. No news on Bowen for those that are asking. We might get something before the deadline, but it's touch and go on that one. Sorry guys, I'm full of cold if you hear me making some weird noises. Buy Solanke or Edouard. My preference is Solanke long term. Eze or Palmer to replace Mitoma. Look, because Eze has Luton away this week, it's very difficult for me to look past Cole Palmer. Look past Eze. So I'm going to say Eze, but Palmer obviously offers you more money in the bank, which could help your team in the longer term. So it's all about what you do with the funds if you were to go for Cole Palmer. Otherwise, I do like Eze with that Luton game, and I think he has Sheffield United in 3 game weeks time as well. Captaincy. So the way I'm ranking them right now is Haaland number 1, Salah 2 and Son 3. But I get it. A lot of people are talking about the high line that Aston Villa play. Son could get a lot of joy. My counter argument is Unai Emery knows Son's quick and he knows that they play a high line. So people need to remember it's not a case of Aston Villa are going to play a high line and Unai Emery's going to be like, oh my God, I forgot Son was quick. Like, they have measures in place in order to counteract what Spurs are inevitably going to try. So it's not a case of Villa play a high line, Son's quick, goals. Like, it doesn't work like that in football. But that's not to say that they aren't going to catch him now and then with the offside trap and Son gets through. But I don't think it's as black and white as Son's quick, Villa high line, goals. Like, I don't think that's as simple as that in FPL in the world of football for those that play football. Worth the free hit. I have Cash and Bowen and only one free trap. No, definitely do not free hit. The only time you need to free hit in a normal week is if your team is absolutely decimated or the fixtures are amazing. This is the absolute opposite week to free hit, because when you want to free hit, for example, let's say we have a week and City play against Luton, Arsenal play against Sheffield United and Liverpool play against Burnley at home, all at home. That could be a free hit week because you could go triple City, triple Liverpool, triple Arsenal, and then sprinkle the team with some cheap players. If you free hit this week, who are you buying? Would you want a Man City player? Do you want a Liverpool player? Do you want Newcastle and Chelsea players? So you'd be stacking your team with Sheffield United players against Bournemouth. You might have a few Fulham players. There's no premise for a free hit this week, so please do not free hit. Arsenal defender priority, I see you have 2 chats. So yeah, for those that are in the chat right now and wondering what I've done, last night I pulled the trigger on selling Matty Cash for Saliba. I had the exact money available without either player rising and falling in price to do Cash to Saliba with one of my free transfers. I had 2 available. I think Cash is absolutely fine to keep in. You could start him this week, but obviously I had 2 free transfers. I saw the David Moyes press conference and he said about how Bowen is potentially going to be available. So I made the move on Saliba knowing that I have another free transfer, and if we get the news that Bowen hasn't travelled with the squad, he's not available, I could then pull the trigger on doing Bowen to Mbeumo or Eze, depending on what direction I want to go in. So for my team it made sense to make the transfer last night. Also worth noting, I am taking a big risk benching Livramento with obviously the ownership of the Newcastle defence, but I'm a Chelsea fan and I think we do have the tools available to hurt Newcastle today. I'm not saying we're going to win, but I do think we have the players in our team in order to break down the high Newcastle press, that aggressive press. I think we have the players. What to do with Bowen? Zombie, it's going to be all about how you judge David Moyes' press conference. If you're worried about that situation with the minutes, sell him, get him done, don't have to panic. Go to someone like an Mbeumo with guaranteed game time. Otherwise, you keep. It's all about how you read that press conference. Start three of... Oh, sorry, there was one before. Trippier, Cash, Braithwaite, Tsimikas, and Gabriel in defence. Which two should I bench? Definitely Tsimikas. Okay. You have to start Trippier. And I would start Gabriel to give yourself the Arsenal coverage. So then it's a case of Cash versus Braithwaite. And I'd probably go for the upside of Cash. So I probably would go for Cash in that situation. Start three of Guy, Gabriel, Udogie, Taylor and Tsimikas, or make a sub. So of those three, I would start Guy, I would start Gabriel, and then you can start Udogie. You don't have to necessarily make a transfer in that situation. Bazooki saying about what to do with Nketiah, 1 free sub only. Yeah, if you're in a spot where you don't want to sell him, then roll in the transfer, give yourself some flexibility the following week. Sorry. It's not a bad move at all. But if you want to strengthen your squad this week, I think Nketiah to a Solanke is a good move if you have the funds available. What is Nketiah's price actually? I'm telling you this, but... Okay, so you can get to Solanke. So either go Edouard or Chris Wood, otherwise you roll the transfer, basically. That's the way I'm looking at it. Bench Palmer, Gordon, or Son. Well, you're definitely not benching Son. Do not bench Son. Palmer versus Gordon. I'm obviously going to say Palmer because I'm a Chelsea fan, but also he's on penalties, which is a big thing to consider. But Newcastle at home, obviously they are going to be probably the favourites. So it's kind of how you read that situation. Tips for a free hit team this week. Reese, my tip is don't free hit. That is my tip. Okay. Own Douglas Luiz still with 1 free transfer. Is it worth moving him on this week? Your midfield is Bowen, Martinelli, Son, and Salah. So what is Luiz's price point? It is 5.6. Like, who can you afford really at that price range? You could go Cole Palmer, but is Cole Palmer really the entry point this week? Probably not. So you could do Douglas Luiz to Cole Palmer. Otherwise, I'd probably just keep him this week and hope they get a penalty where he takes it. Okay, guys, as I said, this was going to be a 45-minute live stream. I do have to wrap it up at 10 a.m. UK time, which is now. So I do apologise to anybody whose questions I missed. I just want to thank you so much for joining in on this live stream. Hopefully, I've helped you out a little bit. Now, again, there are some amazing content creators out there. So please do go check out some other brilliant creators out there. There are so many live streams on right now. You will get your answer covered by somebody in the YouTube community. So just to remind you, I ended up selling Matty Cash to Saliba. If you want to stay up to date with my moves before the deadline, I am going to go on a TikTok live now between 10 and 11. So if you're interested in that, do check it out. Otherwise, I wish you an amazing game week. I really hope you do get a green arrow. Thanks again, once again, for supporting the channel. As I said, there is a lot coming in the second half of the year. So please do subscribe. If you haven't already, this is the place to be. And I see a please in the comments, so let me just check it. Aditya saying, start 3 of Gabriel, Guy, Taylor, Livramento, Baldock. I would start definitely Gabriel and Guy, and I would start Livramento on that one. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care.